to another edition of the Shifty Keys E3 2016 reaction videos. Today you have got me as your host. I'm Jim Surbeck, and I am also recording with
TJ1023.
And we're talking about the big daddy of the conferences so far. So we're talking about Microsoft and the Xbox announcements. And holy shit out the gate, I'm saying Xbox One E3 this year.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I think we still have to wait and see what Sony's got to put on the table. Like, they've still got their VR to show off. But so far, E3 is doing pretty good. Xbox is doing pretty good at E3.
Yeah, definitely, and we will discuss the VR part of that. I had some thoughts when watching it myself. So the first thing they threw at us was the Xbox One S. So it looks like the idea of this, console upgrade cycle, similar to cell phone upgrade cycles, might be true. When I saw the Xbox One S, I immediately thought of like the iPhone series. We knew the iPhone 5, 5S, 6, 6S, and the Samsung Galaxy series as well does that, where they alternate, where they go Galaxy 6 and then S6 and then 7 and S7. So I definitely think that's probably where this is going to end up, barring whatever Project Scorpio is.
Yeah, I can see like how it seems like it might go that way. I can easily see how they would just kind of fall into that cycle, and in a lot of ways, when they were announcing the Xbox One S, it reminded me of like an Apple press conference, just how they were presenting it with their, punk underground music and things like that. But I'm kind of hoping that they don't go that way. Like, it seems like the Xbox Slim might just be a way for them to keep a higher price point up while sort of compacting the Xbox. And I'm okay with them. Like, I'm impressed that they managed to slim down the Xbox as much as they did. Like, the size comparison is ridiculous.
Yeah, 40% smaller overall, I think is what they said, but their little demo, like the almost like a I don't say a blueprint, but a side by side comparison where they showed the 3D model of it being shrunken down. I was like, that looks like way more than 40% smaller. I mean, that looks like it is like 40% the size of the original Xbox One.
Yeah, it is ridiculously small. And on top of that, they managed to get rid of some of the most annoying things about Xbox that PS4 has had an advantage over for years, like had an internal power supply, meaning you used to right now on the consoles we have now. I mean, right now on the Xbox, you have to have the external power supply. And while it's not the biggest inconvenience, it still can be annoying, when the time comes to move your consoles around or, set up your home entertainment system. So it's not the biggest, thing in the world, but I'm just kind of impressed they managed to, something that they couldn't have added with the giant monster box we have now from the beginning, and then they managed to put, something similar to that in a smaller, box is kind of impressive to me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and it is an inconvenience carrying around your brick on the outside of your console. As somebody who Sparks and I travel back and forth to see each other, and having to carry that brick separately is kind of a pain in the ass. And if you forget it, then you're totally like SOL because it doesn't fit anything else. But the thing that caught my attention, and they didn't elaborate on it, it was just one of those like bullet points that ran across the screen. They said Bluetooth controllers. Oh my God! Thank you, Xbox Jesus. I am so excited.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice. I think it's gonna be nice mainly because I think they said it would have a longer range, and that's one of my biggest gripes about the Xbox One controller is you walk like around a wall and it just doesn't work anymore.
Dead.
Like walking to my kitchen, which has there's actually like a cut through hole from my kitchen to my living room, I still lose connection to my Xbox.
It's terrible.
And that's one of the most annoying things. But I like what they're doing with the new controller, even though it seems like they're going to be a little bit pricier. I think it's like $80.
Yeah, the controller kind of sucks, but I mean, for me personally, they made it look like it's going to still, like the current generation controllers are still going to work with the new console. So if I were to like trade in my Xbox One and get the One S, then I would still have two controllers and they'd both be perfectly usable. Speaking of prices though, only $300. I was actually surprised. I didn't. It seems like the right price point now that I think about it, but at the time of it, I was like, wow, that's cheap. I expected it to be like $400.
Yeah, I actually didn't hear that it was $300. That was gonna be a question I was gonna ask.
Yeah, they threw it
Um,
up on the screen. They said
but
$299
yeah,
US.
I must have missed it. But yeah, that seems like a good price point for a kind of new take on the old, not old, but on the current gen console. But yeah, I think that's a good price for it, and the fact that it comes with the new type of controllers, I think that's a pretty good way to do it.
Most definitely. So the next point is a big point for me specifically, and this is something that they repeatedly hammered on and on and on about going through the end of their conference here, is the Xbox Play Anywhere feature. And I said last week, maybe a week before, that if Microsoft brings Xbox gaming to the PC and it's exclusive to Windows 10, then I will upgrade to Windows 10. And ladies and gentlemen, I am downloading Windows 10 on my PC right now. So I'm keeping good on my word. Super excited for this.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting way they're trying to go with that. It goes along with I feel like it feeds into my theory that they're trying to do like a reverse Steambox, like rather than trying to integrate PCs into console games, they're trying to turn the console into more of a PC. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good way to have like decent baseline hardware with consistent configurations that most people can afford without having to worry about can I get this game on my PC when if and when I have enough money to upgrade to a decent PC. And now a lot of Microsoft games give you that option.
Right. And I mean, for me, and this, I can only speak for myself, as somebody who's been very frustrated with this console generation, if I can do away with my Xbox and have just my PC to game on and still game with my Xbox friends, I mean, sorry, Microsoft, I'm going to stop buying your hardware, but thank you, God, for giving me your software. Because, I mean, Xbox has, in my opinion, by far and bar none, the best multiplayer experience out there. I mean, I play on Steam, and I've played with the Nintendo products over the years on my 3DS. I have iOS devices. I've had Android devices over the years, and nothing compares to how gaming is done on Xbox Live. So to bring that to the PC is absolutely 100% a win, and I can't tell you how just excited I am. I wish it wasn't as far away as it is. It's like, I think they said August or September is when the official launch date of Xbox Play Anywhere occurs, but and until then, I'm sold and I'm game.
Do you have any like idea which games in particular you'd wanna on both or
Gears of
one or
War
the other?
4, Recore, both I would be happy with. Hopefully, if the rumors hold up that Microsoft is working on plans to bring the Halo franchise to Windows, I would hope that they would make that Xbox Play Anywhere compatible. So, obviously, Halo.
The thing I'd be curious about with a lot of those Play Anywhere things is for games like Halo that have been kind of historically made for, consoles with controllers, would they allow for mouse and keyboard support, or would they try to make people use like the Xbox controller?
That is a good one. I think if I had to guess, and this was why maybe Halo won't come to the PC. This might be something that Microsoft's got to think on and decide how they want to handle it. If they're going to bring it to PC, I feel like to make it all equal, they either have to enforce controllers only within the game on the PC, or you enable mouse and keyboard support on the Xbox platform. So I think I would rather see controllers come to PC, because that's how I play the majority of my first-person shooters anyway, is with a controller. And if the new controllers are all Bluetooth, then I mean, you don't have to like screw with drivers. You can just hook them up via Bluetooth, and you're off to the races.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who doesn't have a Windows PC, I really could go either way. Because I I mean, I wouldn't want to be stuck in a situation where I'm in an unfair advantage because you've got this guy zipping around the map like Quake style, instantly headshotting everyone with their Razer mouse or something. Like I've done some PC gaming, and I know that it's a lot easier to get some ridiculous, aim skills or whatever with a mouse as opposed to a controller where you seem to. I don't know how to compare the two, but I feel
No,
like
I'm with
I
you.
would be okay with either mouse and keyboard support coming to Xbox or vice versa. And I feel like that's something they could possibly do with they might do with the Scorpio is like perhaps in an update allow the ability to have mouse and keyboard support, especially if it's going to be as powerful as they say it will be. Then they might just end up turning it into a Windows 10 box.
Yeah, well, so let's hold off on Scorpio. We're going to talk about Scorpio. Trust me on that. But I hear what you're saying, and me personally, as somebody who's played Titanfall, for example, on both PC and console, I play Titanfall exclusively with a controller on my PC, and I'm still doing better than most players that I come up against because I don't know. I mean, I assume they're using mouse and keyboards as well, so I don't know if there's that great of a disparity. I mean, I think with something like Counter Strike Go, because I had just how Twitch that game is, a mouse and keyboard is required. But we're getting into like PC talk, and we're getting away from the
Yeah,
Xbox talk.
yeah.
Okay,
Well, I mean
so
that's kind of the big thing is they're trying to a lot of what they're doing is kind of fusing the PC world and the Xbox world.
it's about time they came back around to their beloved PC platform that they left so many years ago. But something else that's going to be Xbox Play Anywhere compatible is Gears of War 4. So it looks absolutely fantastic to me. I mean, I'm super excited for the franchise to return. We're dealing with the next generation of Gears, and we're facing a new enemy, and what's the legacy of the Locust and the Lambent and that kind of thing. So we're fighting the Swarm. I'm happy to get back in this and see what adventures await us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited for Gears of War 4. I wouldn't say I'm excited because I was never really the biggest fan of Gears of War. Most of my hours spent playing it are just to play with friends, so I spent most of my time doing the multiplayer. Which could be fun at sometimes, but I found it didn't match my playstyle very much. So I can understand a lot of people's excitements, but I personally am just kind of, you know, it's happening, it's a thing. But it does look really good, especially I saw some pictures of comparisons from the beta and the I think the trailer they showed, or maybe it was a developer showing screenshots differences between the beta and where they're at in development now, and the graphics certainly look like they've been updated a bit since then. So it's kind of nice to actually see a change between a beta and a release, because usually you don't see much between that.
Yeah, that's I haven't seen that myself, but it does make me happy that I'm not crazy, as I thought maybe it was just me getting caught up in the hype. I thought that the game, from what they showed at the conference, I thought it looked a little bit better than how I recalled the beta looking, because I remember playing the beta and going, this doesn't really look that much different from Gears of War 3. So, but in the conference today, it was just like, oh, there does seem to be something different. I wasn't sure what it was, but I'm glad that you actually confirmed that I'm not insane.
Yeah, I saw a side by side comparison, and they did look definitely different. Like there were better anti-aliasing and better reflections in like water patches and things like that, and the lighting definitely looked a lot like richer and more realistic. So I'm thinking that they're working on that. Although for all I know, it could have been them taking a screenshot on their ultra souped up dev kit, which we don't want another Watch Dogs.
Or Witcher 3.
But that's a Ubisoft thing.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So Killer Instinct was next. It was cool to see General Rom as a DLC character for Killer Instinct, but I'm not really a Killer Instinct fan, so I don't have much else to say on that.
I'm about the same. I've never played it.
Fair enough. Forza Horizon 3, another franchise I'm not really a fan of, but it's a very pretty cinematic trailer, and they had a nice song. I think it's cool that it's set in Australia, so we can get to see some new, exciting landscapes that are different from what you might see here in the US. And the idea of it being cross-platform is absolutely excellent to me. I really hope when Xbox Play Anywhere comes out officially, like that everything that is cross-platform is going to be multiplayer cross-platform.
Yeah, yeah. I've never really. Forza is another one of those games that I've never really played. I think the only racing game I've played on the Xbox, at least since the 360 even, was DGR, and I don't even know who published that, but I know that they've been showing Forza off for, forever at E3 from Microsoft, and it always looks pretty.
It is the money maker.
Almost looks like a yeah, it almost looks like a game engine test. But that I gotta say, it looks like a pretty game.
Recore was next. I think it looks like a delightful little platformer and adventure game. Last year, when they showed us that little cinematic video, I was kind of interested in it. But this year, when I saw the actual gameplay, I'm kind of sold on it. I think I want to give it a try. Like, it's kind of art style. It's not typically my particular cup of tea, but it has something that is maybe just because it's a new IP, but it has something that's wanting to draw me in.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see the Recore part of the presentation, but from what I saw last year, it definitely looked interesting. You said it was like it had platforming elements. Is that is that part of the genre? Is it like a 3D platformer or?
It's like it looked like from the video that they showed that it's something of a mix between like a 3D platformer and a third person like action game, where you can use your little robot allies to assist you in traversing levels. So, and it's also they had I don't want to call it a gun, but something that was shooting. I mean, it almost looked like a I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't like a machine gun or anything that you would see in like a modern shooter, but it was some sort of kind of glowing rod that maybe looked kind of like a railgun ish, that the main character was using. So I'm gonna say it's probably got some shooting elements as well.
Yeah, one of the nice things that I liked from what little I have seen is it just the game just looks different. It's not your generic shoot 'em up game. Seems like it's got some interesting elements, while still kind of falling into the sci-fi genre, which is kind of the one that always sucks me in.
Yep, I'm the same way. Sci-fi, I'm a sucker for sci-fi. Different type of sci-fi is Final Fantasy 15. They showed some actual gameplay footage of it, fighting a large boss in a special challenge mode called the Titan, and the look of it and the scale of it is great, but I'm not 100% sold on the gameplay. It looks kind of like an RPG / hack and slash game, and while watching it, it seemed like the AI allies of your party just kind of did nothing. So I'm really not sure what to think of Final Fantasy 15 I've been excited for it, but I'm seeing this. I'm kind of like, this doesn't look so great suddenly.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that to you and Tyler and Gaff to debate about later, since I've never played a single Final Fantasy game.
Fair enough. The Division DLC, they announced they're going to have random map generation and something else. I kind of missed it because I was at work and watching it, and something came up, so I kind of missed everything that they talked about, but basically there's a new game mode that's like random map generation or random mission generation and like a survivalist kind of thing, and being that I don't particularly care about the Division, I was just real meh about the whole thing.
Yep, that's kind of where I'm at too. I played the Division beta, and that kind of pretty much told me all I cared to know about it. I already kind of went through that whole thing with Destiny, and I didn't feel like going through it again.
I hear you. Battlefield 1, it's coming to EA Access and Xbox for Xbox players early. They're bringing it, I think, a week early, on October 13th. And but all they did was show the same damn trailer that we saw at EA yesterday twice. So nothing really new there.
Yep, more Battlefield. Guns and trenches and shovels.
Yep. Xbox is building up their infrastructure for Xbox Live, and they are building more servers around the world, and hopefully getting more servers closer to the majority of their individual player groups. So we're going to have better connections to games, lower lag times, fewer issues with Xbox Live, ideally. So I'm glad that they're building out the infrastructure. They're going to build in background music. Who the fuck gives a shit? I mean, fine. Okay, joy. Um, Cortana on the Xbox One, they're going to bring Cortana's AI system from Windows 10 over to the Xbox One, which is like I told you it's a couple weeks ago, um, with the Xbox One. It's pretty much a customized version of Windows 10 that's running on the hardware, and this just kind of confirms that. I mean, everything's going to Windows 10. What you said is right. You know, that it's going to be Windows everywhere.
Yeah. And I can't be the only one that's not comfortable with Cortana being on my Xbox, seeing as she's hellbent on controlling humanity with Guardians.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's not the wisest decision there, Microsoft. She's a rampant AI.
Yeah. You don't see Apple writing crazy AIs into their marketing software.
Yeah, I mean, Siri is more like a virtual assistant than a psychotic artificial intelligence. Don't count me, Cortana.
To Halo spoilers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's
Warning.
been a year. It's been a year. People can get over it.
Yeah, if you're not on board by now, then, just play the game and deal. I'm curious, can we get some Xbox Live achievements on iOS, please? I mean, they're talking about, like, cross compatibility and stuff. Does that mean that they're going to bring some Xbox games to iOS and that we could maybe get some achievements on the go? Because that would make my life.
They might, because I know they're trying to they're doing a bridge between Windows or like Minecraft mobile and Xbox or not Xbox, Windows 10 Minecraft, which I don't know how that compares to like, on other operating systems like Linux and Mac, but at least on Windows 10, apparently there's going to be a bridge with the Minecraft Realms, which I don't know if they actually announced that at the press conference, but I read an article, and it's basically kind of being powered by Xbox Live, so people can save worlds in offline and let people join servers and whatnot. So it's basically adding that sort of functionality to mobile. So if that's being powered by Xbox Live, then maybe perhaps on mobile they could have some way to bridge achievements across.
I would hope so. The only thing that I recall ever playing that got me any Xbox achievements was a game called Wordament that I played with two friends, and it was just it's like miniature Scrabble. So let's get some more Xbox achievements going here, Microsoft. That would be excellent since Windows Phone is pretty much shot to shit at this point. Let's get on board the winning team hose and let's go iOS, please.
Yeah. iOS Xbox Live app, por favor.
Please. And they are introducing something called Clubs, which is like a gaming social network. Is pretty much what I got out of it. You can find people who are interested in doing the same things that you. So if you want, so you can do if you want to boost for achievements, or if you want to play a certain type of multiplayer in a game, that kind of thing. I get the feeling that it's all going to be kind of in that realm. So Clubs looks nifty.
That could be interesting. They might be trying to bring back more of the social Xbox experience, or maybe they're trying to bring back kind of the like back in old Xbox Live, you could actually go into game chat and talk to people, and you could communicate and play games and all this stuff, and that's how you would meet people back in old Xbox. These days, a lot of the times, people have their own set group of friends, and they stay in their parties, and if you hear some guy talking in game chat, you're like, shut the fuck up, and you mute him.
Pretty much.
So maybe they're trying to bring back that old way of meeting new people who are also interested in what you are, but without having the, without having the necessity of going to game chat and hearing some guy, out your mother. So that could be interesting to see how they handle that.
Yeah, it's the looking for group feature is the shared goal parties. So basically, it's if you want to pug out, which is a pickup group, if you want to pug out, doing achievements or Slayer mode in Halo 5 or what have you, a team deathmatch in Call of Duty. That's kind of the idea behind it. They're also going to have Arena, which is community-made tournaments for Xbox games. So that's neat. I would like to see, esports is getting bigger, but I think that's going to feed a lot into what we talked about with the EA Sports games like Madden and FIFA. They actually made a little statement that EA Sports is coming to Arena. I'm kind of meh about the whole sports genre, but Arena as an idea sounds cool.
Yeah, I can see how they could use it. It sounds like something they might possibly use in like Halo. Halo Championship Series is probably it's the biggest Xbox exclusive title I can think of. It has a sort of esports scene right now, but they might bring that to it, and it just seems like they might be trying to like kind of grab a chunk out of the esports scene a little too quickly.
Uh,
You know,
yeah, I mean Halo 5. If they're gonna do it, it's gonna be Halo to get it done for them. So, but I agree with you absolutely.
yeah,
Minecraft.
it just seems a little bit. Oh, sorry.
No. I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't know you had more to say.
No, I was just gonna add in like a little bit. It just seems like they're trying to, like ever since Halo 5 came out, it seems like Microsoft in general has been trying to grab as big a chunk out of the eScene as possible.
Yep.
At least that's my opinion.
Like I said, it's a moneymaker. All right, Minecraft. So this was the one that really gives me hope for the Xbox Play Anywhere because they showed on stage Minecraft cross-platform for Windows 10, iOS, Android, and Gear VR devices, and they also mentioned the Oculus. Although what they showed on stage was somebody playing on a Samsung Gear VR, somebody playing on an iPad, and someone playing on the Surface 3. So three different platforms that are not Xbox, but basically using the Xbox system. And the girl that was playing on the iPad did something, and an achievement popped for her. So this is what gives me hope for all of this working out.
Yeah, that would be nice. Um, I had a thought and I lost it. Oh, on the VR thing, they were showing VR with that. I kind of surprised that they haven't shown anything with HoloLens. Like either they're just ignoring it for now, or have they made a partnership with Oculus?
I don't know. I want to say that I know Sony's made a partnership with Oculus for, or well, I think that. Let me double check that
Isn't
actually
Sony
before
making
something
their
can
own
ask.
VR?
Yeah, they're doing. Yeah, that's it. They're making their own VR. But somebody's partnered up with Oculus. I'm trying to remember who it was now. At any rate, I mean Microsoft's obviously doing HoloLens, but HoloLens seems like more of an augmented reality thing than a virtual reality system.
That's true. I was just curious whether they were going to keep going with that in regards to Minecraft, because I know they showed that off last year with using the HoloLens in Minecraft and showing how like they just had a table and Minecraft popped up, and I thought that was kind of an interesting opportunity. But I guess if they were trying to focus more on the cross-platform connectivity, then the HoloLens doesn't really relate to that.
Yeah, it's they showed HoloLens last year with Minecraft, and then I want to say on like PAX or something like that, they showed a demo that involved like it was in the Halo universe, but it wasn't as part of one of the games. It was just like a walkthrough tour kind of thing using the HoloLens. So it's probably one of these things that they're showing it as a proof of concept for now, and then it's something that's going to be fleshed out later.
Yeah, it might end up just becoming like a Microsoft in general product as opposed to an Xbox product, which is why they might show it at like CES or something like that, but not necessarily. I think CES might have been where they were doing the walkthrough. Actually, that might have been
That
the last time they showed it off.
Yeah, I remember Gus and Bernie on the main Rooster Teeth podcast talking about doing that and experiencing it, so it must have been what it was.
Yeah.
So wireless controllers. They didn't show a whole lot off about the controller itself, only that not only is it color customizable, but you can add text to the actual controller itself, to the face of the controller. So you could put like your gamer tag or something like that. I think that's what they were showing off specifically was gamer tags. But you can put little messages on there to make it, unique to you, which was super cool. But I don't know how much this kind of thing is going to cost.
Yeah, that's actually where I got the $80 price point. Was I checked out I think it was designyourxboxcontroller.com or something like that. I just googled it and found the website, and they said that it's not going to ship until September, but you can still like go in and play around with colors and stuff today. And I imagine they'd let you pre-order them today. But it was $80 for the base model, which is the upgraded controller that comes. It's the same as the upgraded controller that comes with the Slim. They've got like a padded, or not padded, but like a tiered backside, I guess, to give you more grip. And obviously the Bluetooth connectivity, customization, and then I think it's an extra $10 for the laser etching for whatever text you want. But I guess for a standalone controller with it, well, that's what I'm curious. If the new Slim is going, they didn't really say whether the new Slim controller was going to be the new standard Xbox One controller. Because if it is, then I imagine that would put that at the $60 range, and then maybe the customizable controllers would be the $80, perhaps. But it doesn't seem like it would be that expensive to just have changing parts on a controller. So I still am not entirely sure about the price range of the new controller.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this Bluetooth controller that they mentioned in the Xbox with the Xbox One S, I feel like it might be. I don't want to say it'll be the new standard because the first generation Xbox Ones, don't have Bluetooth. So I don't see how going that route's going to be the best thing. I feel like if they're going to go this route and they're going to make the Xbox One S Bluetooth wireless controller the standard controller, and it's at 60, then you got to pull back the regular controller price.
That's true, but if it becomes the 60 and the old one's price goes down, that would probably be more as it gets phased out as opposed to a permanent price change. Just kind of like the I think the Xbox 360 controllers, like if you buy a brand new one, they're still like $50, which is kind of high considering it's a discontinued console, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much at this point, it definitely is. They're not making anything for Xbox One now, or the Xbox 360. I mean.
So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what all the details for the price ranges of a lot of these products are.
So the next thing they showed briefly, they gave it a whole 20 seconds of screen time, was a game called Inside. It's the same studio that did Limbo, and they're giving away Limbo free this week to celebrate it, and I'm meh about both of them.
Yeah, it looked, I think, a little bit just like a 3D version of Limbo. It had kind of the same aesthetic, didn't it? The black silhouettes on, grayish backgrounds.
I mean, it didn't really show us anything, so it was kind of like, that's why I'm whole like whatever about it.
Yeah, one of my biggest complaints about E3 is a lot of developers go in and they show you something that's 2 or 3 years off just to tease you about it and add a little bit of hype. But ever since last year, I've always been more in favor of the Bethesda route. That's, hey, we've been working on this thing for 5 years. It's been 3 months. I feel like that's the best way to do it. That generates the most hype, in my opinion. But That could just be me being a millennial and wanting instant gratification for everything. So, wait for Lewis to come here and start taking me apart like the psychologist he is.
Stupid millennials.
Yeah.
ID at Xbox, the independent developers for Xbox. They showed this big amalgamation video of a bunch of different things, and for 2 seconds of each little thing, 2 or 3 seconds, and I saw Deliver Us from the Moon, or Deliver Us the Moon, seemed like it might be something interesting. I don't know what it is. And they briefly showed a little glimpse of something called Everspace, which looks like a space simulation starfighter kind of game. So I was like, yep, that looks like I could be in on that. And they're also showing Ark Survival Evolved as part of the Xbox Play Anywhere initiative. So it is going to be cross-platform and cross-multiplayer and all that good jazz. So I like the direction they're going with it, and that's. I'm not gonna say Ark caught my attention. I liked what they said about it being cross-platform, but Deliver Us the Moon and Everspace being science fiction, they caught my attention.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that indie stuff kind of goes into the same category with my kind of last rant on what they actually decided to show off at E3. Because a lot of games that they said when the Xbox One was originally announced, or maybe like a year after it was announced, when they were announcing new games, there were a couple independent developer games that they promised would be coming to Xbox One in the near future that still have yet to even be mentioned, namely Space Engineers, which was a game I was really looking forward to, but now it doesn't look like it's coming out anytime soon. And with a lot of those indie developer games, I feel like showing that off at the E3 press conference isn't the best move, since a lot of them could just, not work. It would be kind of
Just
like if Steam
disappear on the
decided to
face
show
of the
up
planet.
with their own press conference and show off all of their Steam greenlight games without any of them actually being greenlit yet. Like I feel like if you don't have a working, like if you don't have something that actually works on some form of the console yet, you shouldn't be showing it off and promising that it's going to be available. But that's just my gripe about all of that indie stuff. In general, like, any sci-fi things like you mentioned Everspace and what was it, Shot to the Moon?
Bring us the moon.
Bring Us the Moon. Like any sci-fi game like that is obviously going to draw my attention, but with all of those indie games, I'm just going to be cautious and not really get hyped until I actually have proof that they're coming.
The next thing they showed off was We Happy Few. It artistically and aesthetically looks a lot like Bioshock, and Bioshock Infinite in particular. But it looks like it's actually kind of at the end. It caught my attention. It looks like it's going to be interesting. It looks like a psychological thriller with maybe a little bit of a horror aspect in there.
That's actually one of the other ones I didn't get to see. I'll just let you make judgment on it. I'll have to check out the trailers later. But I think I saw a screenshot of it, and it did kind of put a weird Bioshock vibe with the like kind of cartoony clown looking, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's a I don't know what's happening at the very beginning of it. There's a guy looking at like newspaper clippings, and the player is given the option to either take his joy, which is a pill that I guess controls his mind and levels him out to be, or I don't know, some sort of mind control drug perhaps. And the other option is it was said to remember. So I guess he's looking at articles from history, and he can choose to continue living the lie and take the pills, or he can choose to remember his past, which he chooses to remember, which takes him on a short but not great turn of events. So yeah, they ended
Very
up
Matrixy.
of sorts. He ends up going to a room where everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna break the pinata," and so like everybody's whacking this pinata. And they kind of go to him like, "Come on, you need to whack the pinata." So he hits it, and when he does, blood goes everywhere, and everybody's like, "Yay!" And they start like picking at, I guess, what they see as candy, but it's just like the guts of a dead rat. There's no pinata there, so it kind of catches it right at the end. It gets your attention.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Like this year's Xbox weird thriller thing that they try to do every year.
Well, I think they've got it, and this might be the first one, perhaps ever, that's gotten my attention. The Witcher had a card game in it called Gwent, which so many people played so many hours of it in game, and the developer CD Projekt Red decided that they're going to make it its own standalone game. So Gwent is now a wildcard game. It's got a crossplay, and it has a single player campaign. Never played The
Yeah,
Witcher, don't know
that
what Gwent
sounds
is.
interesting. I played some Witcher, but not really enough, and I've never been a fan of any of those card games, especially ones that are actually in the game. I didn't play much Pazak in KOTOR.
I played way too much Bazak, and in Final Fantasy IX, I played their card game. I always liked it a lot, but everybody said 8 was better. I played 8. It was nice, but I loved 9. Tekken 7 looks pretty, but also another franchise I'm just kind of meh about.
I'm not really into many fighting games, and Tekken is one of those games that is a fighting game. So there's that. Beat people up, simply knock them out.
Yep.
Thumbs up.
I mean, it looks like they have an interesting story mode element where you go from like these very engaging and sweeping cinematics straight into a fight, which they demoed, which looks cool. I mean, for the longest time, you thought you were watching just a cinematic, and then they actually start actually fighting, which is again is cool, but it's not. As somebody who just doesn't care about fighting games too much, it's not enough to draw me in. So if that's that, we'll just move on.
Yep. I don't think there's really anything a fighting game could do to get me to drop what I'm doing and drive to the store and get it. But
Yeah,
that's just, the type of person I am. We really should have somebody here that's into racing games and fighting games.
probably, but we work with what we got, so this is it, kids. Dead Rising 4, more of the same zombie mayhem that we've seen in the past. Although this has some pretty nuts looking vehicles. I mean, the little bit of gameplay that they showed off, which was not organized in any way, it was just short clips of different parts. The weapon mayhem is more than it's ever been. I mean, he had a candy cane crossbow at one point, which was it's funny, but it's really just meant to be one of these chaotic build insane shit and then kill hordes of enemies kind of games.
Yeah, it looks pretty crazy, especially like, you've got things like a combat armor suit, not really combat armor, like an exoskeleton, and Frank just rips like a chunk of concrete out of the ground. Yeah, Dead Rising 4 looks, I'll agree with you. It looks like a lot of the same, but who's to say that's bad?
Yeah,
Nothing
so
wrong with killing zombies in creative ways.
if it's working for you, I mean, keep at it, guys. It'll definitely give you that much. Microsoft then proceeded to do some circle jerking about how great Microsoft and Xbox is, and they have the greatest fans in the world, and everything they do is for us. So yippee-ki-yay, that's great. Thank you, Microsoft, for doing this for us and not the money. Now we get to Scalebound.
Yeah, Scalebound actually looks a lot better than the first time they showed it off. If I remember when they first showed it off was it last year's E3, I think?
I think that's when we got the
It seemed
first
like
gameplay footage was last year.
Yeah, it seemed like kind of a generic, you know, action thing. And to an extent, it still kind of seems like that, but it also feels like it has some weird multiplayer RPG elements. But my biggest issue before was I feel like when they showed it off, it had some frame rate issues, and they seem to have fixed that. So it looks pretty good now. And I mean, dragons. Who doesn't like dragons?
Right. I mean, a year of optimization is going to go a long way. And what really struck me is that in this massive boss fight that they did, they said this is one of the largest boss fights they've ever done in any of their games. Which that's great, but I mean, don't give us the whole show. I mean, this didn't look like it was like a near end game boss or anything like that. It was a very big boss, and they took probably good 5 or 6 minutes of co-op, 4-player co-op, killing this thing. And it was a dynamic battle. They didn't really have anything where they constantly were like, oh, we got to attack the same weak point in the same way constantly over and over and over. And so you have your hero kind of in his standard form, and then you have a hero where he transforms into something in like a suit of armor, like his Superman mode. And then of course you can get on your dragon. So it looks like there's a lot of ways to attack something like this, which makes it just looks super exciting to me. I mean, it's you can go from the micro to the macro is great.
Yeah, one of the things I kind of like about it is it almost seems like it's a like an RPG boss simulator. That's almost what it seems like to me, and I kind of enjoy that. What little like I used to play a little bit of Guild Wars 2, and one of the best feelings is just being in a giant clusterfuck, beating the crap out of a boss with like little toothpicks. And even though you've got kind of a bigger toothpick and a dragon, it still kind of gives me that same feeling with just kind of chipping away at this giant boss's health with these seemingly insignificant attacks, but it's just fun doing that with a bunch of people you know. And it seems like it could be kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely a good party game. Seems like. Though the one tiny gripe I had with it, and this is more of like a personal annoyance thing. Our hero is an obnoxious millennial because the boss, superpowers up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well I'll show you," and he puts on his fucking headphones and start listening to music while he's fighting. It's like, get the fuck out of here! No.
Yeah, I hope like that doesn't happen every single boss fight. Like, you know, yeah, I was about to make another reference to something completely unrelated, but I stopped myself.
Good on you. Speaking of something else unrelated, Sea of Thieves by Rare. I saw the demo last year and I was like, that's cool. And then they showed the whole thing where they put in, a bunch of people. They just dropped them into the game without any kind of tutorials, and they kind of cut together some clips of what they did in the game because it's a very open world without a direction type of game, which is fine. I just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it could be it looks like it could be great fun with like 6 or 7 friends. My only thing is I've never had that many friends in one place to play a game like that. So, yeah, it looks great. Just I'm probably not going to be the kind of person who could get the full enjoyment out of it.
Nope. I mean, it's for me the simple reality is it's just not. These like really, really open world games that are very directionless, where they're too directionless, I just can't get behind. I mean, it's kind of why I'm not a big fan of Bethesda's, Fallout and Skyrim series or Elder Scrolls series. It's not that they're bad games; they're just too directionless and too open world, and so I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable, gripe to have. It didn't seem like there was any direction at all. They just kind of gave them ships, and that's it. They
Good
didn't
luck, have
explain
fun.
what happened after you. Yeah, they didn't explain what happened after your ship gets blown up. I think they just had them floating in the middle of the ocean. Maybe you can get captured by the enemy crew and go work for them.
Hey,
I don't know.
Speaking of being lost for long times, how about Halo Wars 2? Huh? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for Halo Wars 2. I played a lot of the first game,
Hella excited.
years ago when it was almost, and I'm actually downloading the beta on my Xbox as we speak.
Me too, my friend. Me too. I'm massively excited for Halo Wars 2. I don't care that what they showed us was 95% just a cinematic trailer. I mean, we got so much out of that. We know that our Spartans are live. We know we have ODSTs, the UNSC crew. I forget what is it, the Spirit of Fire.
Yep.
They have new mechs, and so do the brutes. And we find out the brutes are not just brutes; they're called the Banished. And if you look right near the ends, you see elites fighting alongside the brutes. So it's like, oh man, it's a whole new faction of Covenant remains that are fighting this particular part of the crew, and they're going to some place called the Lesser Ark. So we're expanding the lore of Halo even more, and I'm
that's actually
absolutely stoked.
Mentioned in other Halo lore. I vaguely remember that, and it was literally just described as what the name says. It's a smaller version of the Ark, but I think that's interesting that they're going there and actually acknowledging other things in the lore with Halo Wars, which I feel like has often been kind of sidestepped lore-wise for anything that exists. And I hope that somewhere in the story they actually bring the Spirit of Fire crew back to the main universe storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that I'm hoping our heroes either are brought into the main, brought into the fold of the main series, or we get to see our heroes come home. I mean, these poor bastards have been probably out in space now for decades. I mean, well, they have been, because the last time we saw them was right after Reach, or no, not right after Reach, but
yeah, it was like 2034, I think.
Right, so it's literally been decades.
Yeah, it's been a long time. They deserve to come home. Bring our men home.
Yeah, bring our boys home, Mr. President. Or Captain, in this case.
I can't wait to jump in the multiplayer, and I'm assuming it's a multiplayer beta. They might have maybe half of a level as a demo, but
I hope so.
I'm still pretty excited. I hope that they have all the factions that'll be available in the multiplayer, and I'm also not looking forward to getting rushed, because all the new fancy ways to rush enemies and kill you in 5 minutes after the game starts is going to be annoying.
Death in 5 minutes or less.
But that's part of the fun.
Yeah, when you're doing the rushing, it's fun.
Oh yeah.
So
You ever Cutter
our
Rush anyone?
yeah.
Cutter Rush, for those of you who may or may not know, is when you take at the beginning of the game, the character you can choose is Captain Cutter, and his special ability is a Mac Blast, and it takes 3 Mac Blasts and 3 Warthog charges on a base to destroy one at the beginning of the game. And one thing players often tried to do as kind of a troll was they would do this to an unsuspecting player in a 3v3 match and basically turn a match into a 3v2 at the very beginning. Yeah, so that's the context.
Wow, brutal. Savage. Speaking of Savage, we are going to talk about the new Xbox hardware that has been teased, and that is officially titled Project Scorpio, which I didn't think we were really going to hear anything about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Seems like it's interesting that they're choosing to go for such a big, upgrade this early the cycle. But I mean, I guess it's probably going to be a year or two before they actually release the full details and price points. But I'm kind of glad that they're choosing to try and go for a more powerful system, as long as the price doesn't get too bad to the point where it would just be cheaper to get a gaming PC.
I think with the way that they made this look, they said they have the most powerful graphics processor that's ever been put in a console, and that GPU that they showed getting put in there is your traditional blower style graphics processor that you see in PCs. So my initial thoughts were that they're really making that push towards the PC market. Like they're bringing PC gaming back around as a focus of Microsoft, especially in regards to the gaming part of the company, the gaming division. So I'm excited to see that. And just based off of my own hopes, given what AMD just recently announced, perhaps this is something. I mean, this graphics processor is probably going to be a part of the Polaris line, their new line that they just announced, and maybe we will see the RX 480, which is their top line card that they've announced. So, since it's coming out in holiday of 2017, however, I have a little bit of a concern that the hardware is going to be a little outdated at that point.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was hoping, or one of the things I was thinking about was hopefully when this Project Scorpio comes into the light, I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be some sort of upgradability, ways to increase your processor and RAM and things like that. If they're going to try and push into that PC market with a console, then there should be some way to buy a high-end console at a moderate price and then have the ability to upgrade it later on, even if it's only through Xbox compatible components and things like that. That would just be a huge way to try and do what they're trying to do, which is get rid of the generations. Which, if that's what they do, then the Xbox Slim might be the last of the traditional Xbox generations, sort of. And Scorpio could just be, the new Xbox gaming console computer thing.
Yeah, absolutely, it's possible. I mean, I guess the thing is that if the majority of, I'm not going to say all, but even if the majority of the Xbox games come to Windows 10, if they're cross-play, if they're Xbox Play Anywhere, then I'm going to go all in on PC gaming because there's no point in me to live on the Xbox console at all. It's just another box in my house that I don't need. So I'm excited to see this because there's part of me that's like, yeah, upgradable consoles. Why not just have a PC? But the flip side of it is, I won't be almost 3 years into my Xbox One at this point and be disappointed with the way it performs because I can say, you know what, it's not got a powerful enough graphics chips. Let me throw another one in there, or let me upgrade the CPU, which is conceivable because AMD, who makes the GPU and the CPU for the current generation consoles, has a tendency to make their current generation of processors generally backwards compatible by 2 or 3 generations with the same physical socket on the motherboard. So I can absolutely see CPU upgrades being a reality.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty much that's all I can hope for with the Scorpio is just the ability to upgrade, and I can see how it could be a good advantage for them, and how they could use that to appeal to people who are still buying into the consoles. You know, you start off with a base Xbox Scorpio or whatever it's going to be called, and it has a certain amount of processors, which right now is huge, but in the future might not be as much so. And if you have the option to upgrade, then upgrading to, like, let's say you buy a new game that requires a certain amount of processor from your Xbox, if they have standardized, like, first party upgrades for the Scorpio, first of all, that could be an easy way for Microsoft to make a little bit extra money, which obviously that's going to be first and foremost on their mind with anything, because they still are a company.
Business is business.
For first party upgrades eliminates console users from the need to know as much about computers, especially if they're easy, like, snap in things. It might just be an easy way to upgrade, cheaper than buying like a new $400 console every 5 years, at least in the short run. I feel like it just makes things a little bit more accessible to people to allow like a sort of short term upgrade whenever you need it. But that's just my wishful thinking. As someone who's always played on consoles, and I've always had Macs, I've never really had the option to, hey, my my machine isn't powerful enough, I want to upgrade this. I've never had that option, and just being able to do that on a console would be it'd be great in my opinion.
Well, I also think it buys into the idea that, like, if this is an appliance, which they are, the consoles are more and more becoming, they're gaming appliances. I mean, I guess you could make the argument they always have been, but for a lot of households with their appliances have an issue, they get them repaired, and sometimes that repair involves getting like a newer motor. Like my roommate who owns the house I live in, the washer, we had some issues with the washer a while back where the motor stopped actually spinning the washer, and so the repairman came out and looked at it and was like, yeah, he's like they actually upgraded the model, so there's actually a new engine for your washer, but it's smaller and it's more efficient. So we're like, oh, great, So, and that kind of thing would be excellent, So I'm totally on board with upgradable consoles as an idea. Whether it will be good for me, we'll just have to see what the game library looks out for. Because I'm pretty much on Xbox One as a platform because of honestly at this point it's pretty much just Halo.
I understand that, and I feel like they should. I'm hoping that they'll keep some games sort of exclusive, but if they're really going to try and push the I'm just going to keep calling it the reverse Steam box for lack of a better term. If they're going to keep trying to push that,
it's the
then
Windows
obviously
box.
Eventually they might, the Windows box, they might eventually just throw in the towel and port Halo over to Windows, but that's probably going to be several years down the line, even with the Windows box or the Scorpio that's coming out. At least until the next Halo game comes out.
I was gonna say, maybe that'll be the big reveal for Halo 6, is that hey, surprise, it's on the Scorpio and on PC. That would be Windows 10,
Yeah. I'm a little it's a little interesting they didn't do anything on Halo. Like, at least, jerk themselves off about, oh, we had so much good times this year in Halo. We had this, and this update, and we have to look forward to this update. I'm a little curious as to why they didn't have anyone from 343 show up for anything other than Halo Wars. I mean, it's, obviously they didn't have too much to show off, but they have been teasing for a long time that the next update, the Warzone Firefight update, is going to be one of their biggest ones. So that's just interesting.
I mean, E3 is not yet over, so maybe we'll see something else come out that's not part of the main production, but there's part of me that feels like with everything they put into this, I don't know that they needed to add anything else about Halo 5. I mean, Halo 5 has got a massive community. There's still tons and tons and tons of games being played, and with them releasing all of this free DLC on the series, or on Halo 5, I don't know what there is to say. I mean, they've got people's attention for it, obviously. So, and I'm okay with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with not mentioning the main Halo franchise.
Oh yeah, like I said, I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm just me personally. I would have loved to see more information, but I just love finding new things out about the games I'm playing and updates and what they're gonna do.
More Halo is better.
So,
I hear you.
yep.
Last thing, and then I think this is going to be, this is the one line that really intrigued me, but this is kind of like, we're gonna see what happens tonight with Sony. Microsoft says that we have a console that is going to run VR. This is what they said about Project Scorpio. We have a console that can run VR. Does this mean that Microsoft knows something about Sony's console, that new hardware that we don't?
I wouldn't say that because they're already working on their own VR system, although admittedly we haven't really heard anything about that, but we also haven't seen the conference tonight. So I believe it's Project Morpheus was their VR system.
Right.
I don't remember if I've heard any news on it or not, but
I don't think I have.
It could just be them saying that, like them admitting that not many even a lot of computers today probably can't run VR very well.
Nope.
So they could be saying that they want to have the first, console that can run VR. So that could have been what they're trying to say.
Well, we'll see if Sony steps up to the plate here in just a couple hours. So, but yeah, that's it. That's all I got out of the Xbox conference. Any other thoughts?
Nope. That's about it. It was certainly interesting.
Definitely a great conference. And well, and that's that, guys. Shifty Keys reaction podcast here to the Xbox E3 announcement for 2016, and we are closing it up. So thanks for listening, and y'all have yourselves a good day. Peace out.
Yep. See you guys later.